And when you go to the White Sox, then you actually go up in 1989 with the Sox. The big stud then would have been McDowell, right? Jack McDowell?
Yeah, Jack was in AAA with me in '88. We were both there in '88. I think he went up at the end of '88, and then he was kind of the number one guy there in '89. I got called up there in '89, like a month and a half, 2 months into the season, and I want to say it was like May 16th or something, somewhere in that area, and just was kind of, just there to make some starts. I really wasn't in a rotation or anything, just going to kind of fill in.
When you get to the major leagues and there you are, is over in the locker is number 72, Carlton Fisk. What did that kind of mean to Greg Hibbard?
Very fortunate to be able to sit beside somebody with that kind of knowledge. And not so much knowledge about pitching, just knowledge about how to be a pro. And I think I really took to a lot of the way he carried himself and the way he had passion for preparing for a game. And I really have a funny story about him. I lockered beside him 4 years I was there. I think that was kind of not by choice, just nobody else wanted to locker beside him because he was not the most friendliest guy on a daily basis. But having the bad knees and getting it going every night. But I remember pitching a game, and I started the first inning, and I worked out of a bases loaded, one-out situation, and I was complaining about the weather and the umpire and the mound, and just wasn't a good start, and he didn't say a word. He just hauled off and hit me right in the middle of my chest, with his fist, and he just said, "Hey, we need you out there today for 7 innings.
Yeah.
Let's go."
Yeah.
And it woke me up, and I want to say I put up 6 or 7 shutout innings after that.
Right.
And I'd never been hit like that, and he wasn't being mean. He was just basically letting me know, you need to shut your mouth and get back to business. So that was the kind of thing that you get on the bench, and coming from Pudge, it was kind of meaningful when he hit me like that.
Yeah, your paths did cross with Sammy Sosa's. Did you get a sense at that time that he was going to be the home run hitter?
No, not back. I can remember a funny, we used to call him Zorro. He would go up there and, he'd take 3 healthy swings, but he just didn't have much bat-to-ball talent, and he learned how to hit. He really learned a lot. I know he had some issues with the, getting bigger and all that kind of stuff, but I really believe he learned how to hit. He learned, counts that he can hit in, being able to look out over the plate and get something he can drive, and that was a big part of him being the home run leader at that time. Talking to Jack McDowell, I remember him telling me something about how to pitch deep into games, or at least what he felt. Yeah. He tried to break the game up into 3 sections. It's the first, second, and the third, which is 9 hitters, the 4th, 5th, and 6th, which is 9 more hitters, and then you go inning at a time to finish the game. So you kind of eliminate that 5th inning blues, where some starters they struggle in the 5th because they know you got to throw 5 to get a win. You got to, that for them to be able to qualify for the win, they got to get through the 5th inning. So you just think about turning the lineup over 3 times, and hopefully you'll be into the 6th or 7th inning.
You caught up with Sosa again in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Did you notice then that he turned into a much better player?
Not yet. Not yet. Yeah, he was still Sammy. He was still the swinging Sammy that we saw with the White Sox, and but you started seeing some clutch swinging or some clutch homers in timely spots that made him kind of special. But there would be that same occasion where we'd have 1 out, man on third, and he's swinging and his helmet's flying off, and all we need is a sac fly. Trying to be the hero. So like I said, he was still developing as a player at that time. I remember a funny story with Harry, though. Me and my wife at the time walked into his restaurant, and he had a big round table there in the front corner of the restaurant, and I walk in, and I think I'd pitched that night, and when you have a good game, you want to go out and eat dinner or whatever, and I walked in, and Harry saw me walk in, and he was, "Hey, Hibby, come on over, have a seat," and there was like 10 chairs at the table, Well, Harry, you had to sit and talk for 2 hours before you even ordered food. Yeah. So, we sat there, and it's just fun listening to Harry, telling stories, and he asked more about me and situations or in the game or something that had happened. But that was probably the most enlightening thing that I remember about Harry Caray.
By the way, your accent was outstanding. You've done this.
He did. I mean, it's funny, but one of the favorite calls that I ever heard him say was, "Hey, you know, Steve, 6 of my best friends just walked in, and they're all named Bud." But it was funny. The other thing that was awesome about Harry was, once in a while the game wouldn't be on TV, and so he'd be on the radio. And I remember pitching the game, 8th inning. I leave the game. The reliever comes in, you know, and we're leading by 2 runs, and it's the bottom of the ninth or top of the ninth, and I'm sitting in the clubhouse listening over the piped-in sound, right? And I mean, here you go. And the pitch. There's a drive. It might be. Sandberg makes the catch. And I'm like, what? I mean, I'm like running outside to see if it's a homer, and there's Sandberg making the catch on the infield.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like every ball that the guy would hit seemed like was going to be a homer.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he'd be like, the second baseman makes the catch. And I'm like, oh. It was nerve-wracking to listen to it on the radio.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it might be, it could be. You know?
Yeah, it might be, it could be. Sandberg makes the catch. Oh.
That's really funny. What other funny incidents? You're a funny guy. If you sit back and reflect and saying, Greg, you haven't asked this question, but the funniest thing that happened to me was...
I was pitching a game in L.A., Dodgers, and it was my last start, and my warm-up pitches, threw the ball, they throw the ball down. I get the ball from Steve Buechele at third, and I used to always check the ball, before the inning, and I looked at the ball, and it had an L.A. written on it with a Sharpie. So, it's a batting practice ball. Yeah. And it's in my hands as the game ball. So I'm thinking, sweet. This ball's going to move more than normal.
Yeah, yeah.
So I throw the first pitch to the hitter, and 1 pitch, ground ball to short. 1 out. It's a heavy sinker. Just diving. The next hitter gets in, first pitch sinker, ground ball to short. 2 pitches, 2 outs for my 15th win at that time. And so I get back up. Rick Wilkins behind the plate calls a curveball. I'm like, no, I'm throwing a sinker again. This thing's diving its butt off. So Raul Mondesi throw a sinker. He swings. And he chops it at the plate. Well, when he chops it at the plate, the umpire takes his mask off, and Mondesi's like, check that ball. So he picks the ball up, the umpire, and looks at it, and he starts laughing. Well, he throws it into the Dodgers dugout. Well, Lasorda's throwing guys out of the way, get me that ball. Well, he gets the ball, and he looks at it, and he sees that it's a batting practice ball that came out of the game, and he's livid at the umpire. Hey, where does this ball come from? Where is this? And all this. And Buechele's laughing at third. And so after the inning's over, I walk over to Buechele as we're rolling in, and I'm like, where'd that ball come from? He goes, hey, I gave you the infield ball. I threw a game ball in the dugout. So I pitched the last out of 93 with an infield batting practice ball.
Outstanding.
And I told Boo, I said, hey, first start of the year, I need to get that infield ball. All the help I can get.
You were there when Comiskey closed, and Jack McDowell started that game. Do you remember anything special about the fact that was the last night at Comiskey?
Do I remember the last night?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Just the electricity that was in that game, and I actually, to this day, still have the rosin bag from that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from the final game. When we all ran on the field, and I looked down, and there's this rosin bag, and I just stuck it in my back pocket. And but yeah, that was a special night. It was, that stadium had been around for 80 years. Mm-hmm. And I still have the chairs. I still have 2 of the seats in my garage. When I pitched, I was labeled the Bulldog. I went out there and I wasn't intimidated by anything, even though I didn't throw 95.
You're the best. This was really fun. and you should go on stage with this Harry Caray.